Okay, in this video we're going to talk about how to get the syringe into the assembly file. When you get to the point where you're ready to check motion to see if your design is going to actually be able to swing 45 degrees from center over top of the arm here, that's when you definitely need to start adding the syringe assembly. So let's go ahead to the download site here. This is on the Google Drive. This is coming from the assignment and linking out to this point. And again, you have to make sure that you download all these parts. If you have not downloaded these yet and assembled them, you should have, and there is a video for that. But again, I'm going to go through and download these parts and pieces again here so I can make sure that they're all in the same location. So downloaded. And the last thing here is this syringe with mounts. This is the actual assembly. So with that set up, I'm going to go back into Inventor, and I'm going to go in and place that component. So I'm into my download folder. Make sure I'm in the right location, downloads. And you can see I've downloaded a few times, so that's the third one here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up, and here it is. Now, when you place it in here, if you've gone through the first video where you saw this getting built, you're going to take a look at this and say, hey, this is a little funky looking. And this is actually a full sub-assembly. And I'm going to free rotate this, and you're going to see that there's actually two separate mounts here, okay? There are two mounts on the back of this, and that's because in the assembly, I gave you two mounts. Well, these two mounts are set up here. You can actually go in and turn off one of these mounts. So let's just say that this U-shaped plunger mount, which really works well on some connector up here, is not going to be the connector I want to use down here. So we can go in and say, let's take this U-shaped plunger mount here, and we're going to then just suppress it. All right, so we are suppressing that, and now we want to have this flat connector because for this particular instance, there's a through hole right here that we would really just be putting a pin through that through hole. All right, so that's important that we can have that. So let's go ahead and start putting this together. I'm going to grab my Constraint Tool here and just use a simple mate. And notice I'm not even using pins yet. I'm just going to use a center axis constraint to the center axis of this particular part. All right, and it comes into position. I'm going to hit apply. I'm going to cancel just so I can move and see what's happening here. Well, you can see, hey, this is what's going on here. What's happening here? So I'm going to turn and take a look at this. What you see is that it's set on the axis. Okay, all I have done is constrain this thing on one particular axis, but now I need to start adding some more constraints to it. So I'm going to then say, let's go ahead and constrain the other side because I got another hole right here. And I want to do the same thing. I want to go ahead and constrain this little part. And sometimes grabbing a hold of these things under here is difficult. But make sure you get that center axis to pop up. And then come over here. I'm going to grab this center axis over here. And there it is. And now they turn and snap. Now, I'm going to apply. However, this thing should, it can still go up and down. So again, we're going to turn and look at this from a side view. And you can see that this can slide directly up and down. So what I really need to do here is now constrain what surface here, ask my question, what surface of this part touches the surface of this part. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this just so I can see the bottom edge of that. And now let's go ahead and do a mate constraint from the center of this, or the bottom of this part, to the bottom of this part. Now, that should stay fixed together, but it should also then still have the ability to move. Now, this is going to become an adaptive part. Now what that means is over here I'm going to right click on the actual syringe with mounts. I'm going to say make this adaptive. Okay, you just saw it move. Because then what we should be able to do is I should be able to get in here and then drive this constraint. And you can see that as I drive this constraint back and forth, it is moving. But you can see it is moving like past and through itself. All right, see how that physically can't happen. If I were to get in and start looking at collision detection, we would definitely see a collision being detected here. All right. So given that, what I'm going to do is let's back off the actual end distance. So we're going to go ahead and let's go 2.5 instead of 3. So we're going to pull back out here, and then we're going to go forward. And at 2.5, it seems like that works pretty good. All right. So nothing's running into each other, and it looks like it's going to move. Now, do I have enough swing is the real question that we're looking at. Well, obviously, as I look at this, I'm not going to be able to drop balls into here if I'm not over top of it. So I'm going to need to then adjust the locations of this particular syringe, whether it's going to be adjusting this hole forward, backwards. How do I do this? What do I need to happen here? So So you can see that this part needs to go a whole lot further to make this work. So this is where you need to say, how do I change this particular part so that this moves further over here? Obviously, we could take and maybe redesign, have this part extend over here so the pull can occur and move further over this way. But this is where you're going to have to come down and kind of figure out what is the best way to make this work. So to do that and kind of get things in position, what I would recommend doing is let's get rid of one of the constraints holding this in position. So let's find that this mate 6 is actually holding it in position down here. Let's go ahead and suppress that. Or actually, hold on, let me see if I can do that right here and suppress that. So now that's not in position, and I should be able to move this. So in order for this to get directly over top of that particular feature here, this is my receiver pipe. All right, in order to get over top of that, I need to move this thing in position like this. Okay, so with that in that position, I could go ahead and fix this. And then we can look at this and say, well, where does this thing need to be in order for that to work? And I'm looking at this going, well, it's going to be way off the table, or use some of these adjustable mounts. This is why in that design I added these adjustable mounting points, because you never know how this is going to work. So given this particular instance, if I were to then say, let's go ahead and just take this mate here, and let's just delete it now. And I want this to be able to move. Now, this is still grounded, so I'm going to right-click and I'm going to unground this part. Then I can go ahead and I can add this new constraint. So I'm going to take and say, how about we take and use this particular piece of the fastener, or this particular piece. Whoop, I got to move some things around here. Take and push you this way a little bit. Where's that hole? There's that hole. So then we're going to then say, let's do this again. We'll grab this. I'm going to say, let's take this particular hole. I think it was this one here and this one. Line those things up. And then hit apply, and now let's see what's going to happen with this particular situation. Looks like I'm over top of, well, I could have probably gone one hole more, but looks like I'm getting close to being over top of that receiver pipe. Okay, now can I turn and grab a hold of something over here? So should be able to do here is get in and drive that constraint to see, well, what's happening. Well, I'm getting really close to the center, but I can't reach it yet. But what I can do is, remember, I changed this. This can actually go out to 3.5. So if I change that and I run that insert constraint out to 3.5, now I can reach past center. All right, you can see that if I were having that extended, I can reach past center, which means I can definitely grab center. And then if I go ahead and retract it, I can come back over here and I can reach over top of the cylinder. So by positioning and moving these mounts a little bit, it gives you a lot of opportunity to change and adapt your design without having to change and adapt the actual parts and pieces. So don't be afraid here. Use a lot of these holes. That's why these holes are there, the different mounting holes, different positions. Try them. See how that works out. But in the end, you're going to want to be able to get from the center of this feature all the way over to the receiving hole. So I hope this helps you guys get through adding the syringe, getting motion to work, and really get to see how your design is going to come together, and then the adjustments you can make to that design so you get the function you need. All right, good luck.